Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, quick question for you. Did you know that the algorithm recommending your next favorite movie is using the exact same math used to predict the weather? It's true. I'm super thrilled to have you here today. Whether you're a college student just starting out with Python, maybe a data science enthusiast, or an aspiring machine learning engineer, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the so-called magic of AI. We are going to demystify the actual mathematical and statistical principles that power machine learning. Because look, behind every smart recommendation system, every self-driving car, every predictive model, there isn't magic. There's just math. And understanding that math, that's exactly what transforms you from someone who just runs code into someone who truly understands how to build and tweak incredibly accurate ML models. Let's get into it.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The math behind the machine, 2. Supervised versus unsupervised learning, 3. The bias-variance trade-off, 4. When algorithms become biased, and finally 5. Mitigating bias in AI.
All right, Section 1, Math Behind the Machine. Let's start right at the bedrock of artificial intelligence.
I really want to ground us in this specific definition from Coursera, mainly because it highlights a massive foundational shift. You see, in traditional software engineering, you write the rules, right? Like, if X happens, do Y. But in machine learning, we just feed the computer data, and it figures out the rules all by itself. It literally reduces the need for manual programming. But how does it actually do that? What replaces those manual if-then statements? The answer, plain and simple, is math.
There are basically three essential mathematical pillars here. Think of linear algebra as the computer's native language for organizing massive, giant spreadsheets of data into vectors and matrices so it can process them in a snap. Then we have probability. I like to call probability our crystal ball. Since the real world is incredibly messy and uncertain, probability gives us the tools to make really solid, educated guesses despite all that noise. And finally, statistics. Statistics is our reality check. It's how we evaluate our model's performance, handle that noisy data, and ensure our predictions are actually reliable. Virtually every single machine learning algorithm out there depends on these three pillars.
Moving right along to Section 2, Supervised versus unsupervised learning. Let's look at how this math is actually applied to train our models.
This is such a cool concept because there's a stark contrast between teaching an algorithm with an answer key versus just letting it explore raw data totally on its own. In supervised learning, you might feed a model thousands of emails explicitly labeled as spam or not spam. The model then learns the statistical relationship between the words and the label. But in unsupervised learning, you just give the model a massive pile of customer data with absolutely zero labels, and it uses statistical distances to group similar customers together. It's just finding hidden patterns.
And depending on the data you have, you're going to reach for totally different tools. If you have labeled examples and you want to, say, predict a house price or classify a specific image, you're going to use supervised algorithms, think linear regression or decision trees. But if you're doing pattern discovery, maybe you're trying to segment users on a social media platform based on their behavior, you'll lean heavily on unsupervised tools like k-means clustering or PCA, which is honestly just a really elegant mathematical way of simplifying highly complex data into something you can actually manage.
To give you a practical example of this, let's look at decision trees. They are incredibly popular in supervised learning. A decision tree basically uses simple statistical splits to mirror how a human makes decisions, step by step. So, imagine you're trying to predict if a customer will buy a sports car based on their age and income. The tree might first ask, hey, is their income over $70,000? If yes, it goes down one branch. If no, it goes down another. It just keeps asking these statistically optimized questions until it finally arrives at a solid prediction. Super simple, highly interpretable, and really effective.
All right, Section 3, the bias-variance trade-off. Let's talk about statistical balance. Because, spoiler alert, these mathematical models will inevitably make errors.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that every single machine learning model, and I mean no matter how advanced it is, must navigate this specific inherent tug of war. It's called the bias-variance trade-off, and it is at the absolute heart of training any model.
You are quite literally always balancing between a model that's way too simple and a model that's way too complex. So high bias is when your model makes too many simplifying assumptions. Imagine trying to fit a perfectly straight line through data points that are curved like a smile. It just isn't going to work well if it fails to capture the underlying structure. We call that underfitting. On the flip side, high variance is when your model is just completely hypersensitive to the training data. It connects every single random dot, basically memorizing all the noise and all the weird outliers, and then when you show it brand new, unseen data, it completely fails. We call that overfitting. So how do we fix this? Data scientists rely on advanced ensemble methods like random forest and XGBoost. Think of these as a council of experts rather than just one single decision maker. Instead of relying on a single decision tree that might overfit, they build multiple trees and just average their predictions out. It's a brilliant statistical trick that captures those complex nonlinear relationships while keeping the variance totally in check.
Which brings us to Section 4, when algorithms become biased. We really need to transition here from statistical bias, which, again, is just a mathematical error regarding model complexity, to ethical bias, which has a very real impact on human lives, rights, and opportunities.
Creating ethical AI means we have to build trust and accountability around our mathematical models. Because, as AI systems are increasingly used in major areas like healthcare, finance, or even criminal justice, we can't just look at how accurate a model is on a spreadsheet anymore. We have to ask the hard questions. Is it fair? Is it transparent? Can we actually explain why the model made the decision it did? The whole black box nature of these complex algorithms often obscures accountability, and that's a problem.
To really understand why this matters in the real world, just get this. Empirical studies have actually shown that some commercial facial recognition systems misclassify women and people of color at rates up to 30% higher than white men. 30%. That is not just a glitch in the code, it is a profound ethical failure. When predictive policing tools or recruitment AIs amplify historical discrimination, the real-world harm is just immense.
And, things rarely go wrong in just one place. Unfairness can sneak into the process during development, during data collection, or even deployment.
Let's break down where this actually comes from. First up is data bias. Honestly, even if your math is completely flawless, if your training data reflects historical inequalities or just lacks diversity, your predictive model is just going to learn and amplify those inequalities. Garbage in, garbage out, right? Next is algorithmic bias. This happens when the model's actual design is flawed. Like if you optimize a model strictly for the overall majority's accuracy, it might completely ignore the needs of minority groups. And finally, application bias. This is when a perfectly good, well-trained AI system is just deployed incorrectly or used in a context it was never designed for.
And finally, Section 5, mitigating bias in AI. So how do we actually start building fairness directly into the machine learning lifecycle?
The good news is we can mathematically reduce bias while maintaining the model's accuracy by intervening at 3 specific chronological steps. Step 1 is data preprocessing. So before we even train the model, we can balance out the data sets, augment underrepresented groups, and just make sure the data is fair from the jump. Step 2 is modeling methods. This is where we actually tweak the math. We alter the algorithm's learning objective so it gets actively penalized for making unfair predictions during its training phase. And finally, post-processing. If the model is still spitting out biased results at the very end, we can mathematically adjust the thresholds or reweight the predictions to ensure we get an equitable outcome.
Thankfully, the industry isn't just flying blind anymore. We're finally seeing standardized guidelines and real regulatory frameworks emerging. Big documents like the EU AI Act and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework are really setting the rules of the road now. They're specifically designed to ensure that corporations and developers prioritize fairness, explainability, and basic human rights exactly as much as they prioritize mathematical efficiency and predictive power. So, we've seen today that statistics and probability give us the ability to build some incredibly powerful tools. And this math, it's evolving at lightning speed, letting us process bigger data sets and build more complex models than we've ever seen before. But I want to leave you with this question. Are our ethical safeguards moving fast enough to catch up? That is the question every single future ML engineer needs to be asking. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Catch you next time.